I remember with emotion, during the first year of my compulsory enrollment, feeling the warmth of a nearby star strike my face through the glass windows. This reminded me of the house for not having tasted filters or overworked beaches with sand on the methane legs, or cities that have benefited from breeds that benefited from our rain. Hacking race. They sometimes call them the same. About 3 days ago, our spacecraft penetrated the rocky clouds surrounding their system, which is unknown to be uninhabited, and we timed the invasion correctly to avoid gravitational interference with the gas giant. 1.5 days ago, we began our retrograde burn into solar orbit. A day later, our ships went into orbit around their home planet. They knew we were coming. As expected. We believe that the technology is rudimentary, but from our observations, we understand that it is capable. They still use to project our weaponry against one another, something that our ships and soldiers became resistant to long ago. We had always wondered why they never took the next step, and why they didn't move on to lasers and quantum rays. Some thought it was their permanent softening that never left the space technology to improve others, and believed that there was a global religion in which the weapons were angry, but a small minority thought they were stupid. No, they are not stupid. They have no reverence. They chose to stab each other with sticks and stones. They chose to create newer weapons because they feared their greatest creation. I felt his warmth on my face. I felt my clothes seize as I watched our strongest alloys dissolve and burn our armored soldiers. I felt the skin peel off my shoulders. I saw jolts of bright light and flashes in my closed eyes. It knocked out the power to our ship, killed those who dared to stand aloft, and crushed the cruiser. It goes, space-time itself. Backup generators failed, oxygen turned to poison light, turned to cancer, and then came the second. I had to crawl the blackened skeleton of the pilot into his seat. Before blasting that second metal hole, the metal control stick burned my hand as I struggled. I could feel the heat from the other fake sunset in the ship when I opened the wormhole to the home. My face feels cold. Now, if this universe had a god, people would make him a gun. They are afraid to scare us. This invasion is a serious mistake. The Emperor placed the polished velo on his lap and stroked his chin with his free hand, a somewhat ornate hand suitable for military messages. He went out smiling, and those were his last words. His advisor muttered with his back to the Emperor, who read against the balcony and supervised the rolling hills with red, shaped, and gray rocks that were illuminated by the red sun. He wrote that before his ass bleeding from the ass faded, just like his good mood, his eyes were shot back on the paper on his lap. How many did we lose? The counselor sighed before we turned. This was no longer a problem. He could turn his back to this. Wasn't a problem that could be brushed under another imperial rug. All of them, Your Majesty, all the 1.63 billion soldiers gone. And if that account in your lap is to be believed, little remains of their bodies. The Emperor's face twisted into a grimace, and his eyes darted to the left and the right. This is unacceptable. That's funny. Why don't we know? Why hasn't humanity conquered itself, and why hasn't it destroyed itself? The Emperor stood up with angry eyes and turned to his advisor, taking a deep breath as he did so. When the Queen loses her temper, someone has to remind her to be rational. I warned you that we knew very little about humans, and your attack made me take the time to research them. Earlier, your offensive command requires us to first understand what we can get. Your order to attack the advisor side. I have called the human ambassador to discuss what happened and see if we can reach a peace treaty without our enemies finding anything. We should send them towards the sun. If something arrogant, but not unjustly done to the servants, comes around the corner, the human ambassador is here, her angelic voice announces, sending them to a counselor who answers from the same corner, a dark-haired woman in a white sweater and pomegranate suit, followed by a translator. She paused 10 feet from the Emperor and bowed to Your Majesty. She turned to him. The Emperor disregarded the formality with a wave of his hand. May I ask why you summoned me? Don't play stupid with the advisor crowd. You know why, if it's to discuss peace. I am afraid there isn't much. All I can do for you is discuss what happened in orbit above your home planet, what the Queen spat, and how 1.63 billion of our people were incinerated before they even came into contact with your atmosphere. How come you haven't killed the billions of humans that exist in your puny solar system? The ambassador took a deep breath, which didn't matter right now. The important thing is to discuss what might happen next, the advisor laughed. You think we will discuss with you what will happen next? Do you think you are unimportant weapons of racial extinction? The ambassador crossed his arms in front of her. We on Earth have rules about how to fight. Despite our differences, we are fighting for a piece of land, and if there is no more land or no people to inhabit it, then there is no need to fight. You have the rules of war, Empress, despised rules that don't apply to the likes of us. Simply, the advisor started walking with his eyes on the floor. You say peace is not the answer. Explain. The ambassador looked at the mangrove valley. How do you explain the attitude of an entire race? How would you sum up all mainstream culture? Humans are stupid creatures. We always need something to fight for. If there was nothing, we would come up with something that our greatest inventions, our greatest losses, the cities built with the blood of our greatest leaders, and our greatest motivation were something we could attack directly. You gave the Earth something they hadn't tasted in a long time. Empire blood. She made a self-confident smile that coordinated the whole Earth. Your human beings are disgusting, not stupid consultants trying to say it in a collected tone. We know what the ambassador said. We don't want to admit that we like it.